Hello everyone. So we will continue with our discussion on emotions. We were yesterday discussing about positive emotional granularity card. So in this lecture we will be talking about both positive emotions and negative emotions and affective computing. So the key learning outcomes of this lecture are: we will explain how positive product emotions arise from 6 distinct sources and how the negative emotion are used deliberately, and when used deliberately can enrich product experiences. Understanding affective computing fundamentals and the technical architecture for emotion recognition from facial expressions, vocal, physiological aspects and behavioral modalities is what we will take up next. And then we will see how to apply emotion driven design and affective sensing while conducting user research, how ethics comes in between, how we have to do privacy respecting while we are trying to develop these emotion aware systems and thereby improve the overall user experience without creating any kind of manipulation. So we will get started with these 6 sources of positive product emotion. These are the object, the meaning, the interaction, the activity, what we feel of ourselves when we use it, and what we feel because of others involved into it. So let's look at some examples. So the first one is about the object. So positive emotions can be elicited by the product purely as a physical artifact. Its form, proportions, material, finish and sensory qualities can be appraised as beautiful, elegant or delightful, and it is independent of what the product means or what it does. It is resulting out purely of the form, proportions, material, finish and the sensory feelings that the product generates for you. So say for example an iPhone. When you hold the iPhone, when you look at the iPhone, the physical form, the carefully crafted material plus every dimension of that product makes you feel admiration for that product. You also start desiring at the first sight of this particular product. So it is irrespective of the functionality part of it or what it means. So that those are the layers in which I go next. The object layer is the first layer, which is about when you see the object, you feel the object, the physical form of that particular product, when it gives you certain kind of emotions. Then comes the next layer, which is about the meaning of that particular object. So if I look at this worn out diary, you can see that not that this is a very special diary because it is made up of very elegant material or because of the product form, but here the emotional connect is because of the meaning this diary holds for me, because I have been recording my personal memories, my personal history, certain event details, or it represents my identity, who I am, or it has certain kind of cultural significance. So whenever an object, I am connecting that object, the object is delivering certain kind of meaning because of the memories that it holds, the personal history, identity or cultural significance. I say that the source of this positive emotion is the meaning that that object has, irrespective of what that object is made up of. And the ink inside the diary does hold the memories. However, rather than just the paper and the ink, it is about the entire meaning which is being created, which delivers the positive emotion for us. Now the third one, which is about the interaction with the object. So if you look at this example of somebody trying to taste different gelatos and trying to make a selection, even when the gelato spread is in front of you, the way the display is when you are interacting with it and thinking which gelato do you want to have today, it gives you a kind of a pleasure. Your mind is already into this idea that I am going to consume this product right now. So the interaction with the object, the interaction that you are having currently of choosing, plus the fact that you are already thinking of how I will feel when I start consuming it. So the emotion can be generated by the act of use itself, the responsiveness, the feedback and sensory richness of the moment of interaction. Here the pleasure lies in the doing aspect of it. Now coming to the fourth one, which is about the activity facilitated by the interaction. So if you look at this particular person who is riding a sports bike and has full gear while he or she is on the bike, there is this feeling of joy, pleasure, excitement, all positive emotions because of the activity facilitated by all the objects involved over here. So emotion can be tied not to the product but to the wider activity it makes possible. The product is a means, that satisfaction comes from the experience it unlocks. Now coming to the fifth one, which is about what we feel of ourselves because of the product. So emotions can be directed at the self. How owning or using a product shapes self-image, pride, confidence and self-expression. So the product becomes a mirror for who we are or who we wish to be. So you can see in this particular example, this lady is wearing a striking pair of sunglasses and it is making her feel very attractive, confident and expressive. And many others will try to own this product in case this was an advertisement, because when they look at it they feel that okay, when I own those pair of glasses I will feel the same positive emotions from myself. So here the emotion is directed at the self. How owning or using this product shapes my self image, pride, confidence and self expression. Now coming to the sixth one, about others involved in the interaction. So you will see that usually kids hold band-aids very dearly to themselves, whereas you need a band-aid when you are hurt. So it is something which should not be a positive emotion. So basically band-aids involve someone else who is tending to them. So if you try to think of yourself as a child, or if you know of children around you, you can just ask them about what is their relationship with the band-aid. It's like an adult comes or a parent comes who is dear to them and takes care of their wound. So emotions can arise from the social dimension of use. The people we connect with, care for or relate to through the product. The feeling is rooted in this human relationship. So in our last lecture we were talking about this typology of 25 positive emotions. So let's take this further and see how we do our research now that we know the 6 sources of emotions and this 25 positive emotion typology. So we use this positive emotional granularity card for performing the user research as well as when I am trying to design something. So what are these positive emotional granularity cards? It is a research tool developed by the Delft Institute of Positive Emotions and it consists of 25 cards, each representing a distinct positive emotion. So each representing either sympathy, kindness, so each of these distinct emotions. And they provide you definition, they elicit certain conditions through emotions and tell you when this particular emotion arises, and it helps you do all these things with expressive visuals as well as some descriptive text. It is licensed under Creative Commons, and the purpose in research that you can use it is it helps participants articulate nuanced emotional responses that are often difficult to express verbally. The visual scaffolding supports recognition over recall and surfaces emotions users feel but cannot easily name. So let's look at the anatomy of each one of these cards. So when you try to use these cards, you can download these cards. The link to this same is given later on. When you are looking at the cards anatomy, so the first thing that you see is the emotion category. So this was same as the broad category we discussed about. So sympathy lies within the broad category empathy. So the first one is the broad category under which this particular emotion is grouped. The next one comes the emotions name itself. So in this case it is sympathy. The third one is about the descriptive objective and descriptive adjectives of it. They tell you about the shades and nuances. So it is about altruistic and condolent feeling of empathy. Then you have a descriptive adjective, to experience an urge to identify with someone's feeling of misfortune or distress. Then comes certain behavioral illustrations to explain this concept visually, so that it can be used more effectively while both designing as well as while trying to do user research. Then the final one is the eliciting condition. What triggers this emotion? So, it arises when one recognizes that someone is suffering a distress and is motivated to be helpful. So, why this granularity matters? We had discussed this briefly in our previous lecture. Now, let us look at it in greater depth by using some design examples. So, we were talking about when a user says a product feels good, that single word hides very different design strengths. So, we will take example of 4 different strengths. So, the first one being inspired. So, let us look at how Notion's onboarding works. So, Notion's onboarding will tell you that you have to create a new board for yourself. So, rather than giving you a board which is blank, which still tells you that over here you will be putting the heading, here you will start writing some things, and in the template you can add different kinds of categories of products. However, that is not inspiring enough. So, in this case what they have tried to do is they have made some words for it. Make it yours. Get inspired with templates from the community. Then you can use these things which says company wiki, all your documents in one place. Project tracker, track projects and tasks. Habit tracker, build better habits. And then I have browse for templates. So, before versus after, you can see in this after, I feel that this is good design because what I have tried to use is this emotion of inspiring people. So, the product opens a new possibility the user hadn't imagined because I designed in this particular fashion. So, the design response that I have given to this inspire emotion is lead with a vision, surface aspirational stories, give the user a glimpse of who they could become if they are using this product. So, you are giving them the ideas of how this product makes their life easier. So, it is not just show them. So, this was like show what all you can do, and the second example is inspire a bigger future. Now, coming to the next emotion, again our context is same. Somebody feels good about the design. Here I took the emotion of confident. So, I am taking this example of Todoist. So, in Todoist, I can design the product like this, which says write the project brief, I am written, I will tick it, design prototype, tick it, review with teams, send to client, and I can press on add task and add another task. So, this is how the Todoist list, the sample was prepared when I get started with it. Now, here in the second example, I want to create this clear confirmation and progress and mastery cues because I want to design for confidence. So, what I have done is as soon as the first task gets clicked, I am marking it green and this grays out and there is a strikeout, and plus as soon as I did it, there is a micro interaction to celebrate the whole process. I have my other features still there. I can still add task. Here you can also see I have added a shortcut which talks about quick add task. Now, this quick add task gives you further confidence. If you start doing that, I am a pro user. So, what we try to do with this pro user thing is I wanted to give a possibility for power users that by giving that subtle cue of that shortcut that you can start using it. After they have used it for a couple of times, you may just make that thing disappear because now this power user knows how to do it, and the feeling that okay, I can just click with my fingers and it happens, it creates further confidence. So, the user feels capable and in control. You are able to show progress and state clearly, confirm successful actions, expose mastery cues like keyboard shortcuts. Now, again feel good, but here I will design it with relieved. So, in relief, it is like there was a stress and that stress just suddenly got removed and you feel this feeling of relief. So, I will take the example of Google Docs over here, the autosave. So of course you can always have a save over here where I go and click it. But when I have autosave, this also gives me an idea of the status of the product. There is peace of mind. So I will focus only on writing down rather than thinking every time that, okay, did I save? Should I save it? What if I lose data? So I am eliminating friction. Let the product carry the mental load of constantly trying to save something. So design response over here is remove unnecessary steps. Autosave by default take the small annoyances off the user's plate. So a long standing source of friction, which was earlier that you have to constantly keep saving and you lose data whenever you forgot to save it and the file just crashed because of whatever reason, is finally now gone away. The next one, fascinated. So here the product is genuinely interesting to explore. That is what I am trying to do. So I take the example of Figma. So Figma has a lot of features and they can be hidden. So let's say I know if I click over here, I can identify that hidden feature. However, I can also do something delightful. Delightful detail on hover, fun to discover. So I go and hover onto some feature. Let's say this is new and I hover over there and it gives me a micro animation and says, congrats, you found a little Figma. So the delight through discoverability make exploration rewarding. So the design response over here is reward curiosity with depth, layer secondary detail behind hover or zoom and add discoverable, let's say, Easter eggs to it, which is basically when you click onto it and you know what is coming out of it on that click. So now we will discuss how to apply these knowledge into user experience research. So let's say I am going to design usability testing and we will discuss more on usability testing in later weeks, but I will show you these samples of how to perform it in different kinds of user research already. So the method over here is after each task in a usability test session, participants select one or more emotion cards that best describe how they felt during the interaction, and that helps you in understanding and it helps in the user in verbalizing what exactly they felt. So you can put down these granularity cards in front of them and they can select, okay, because of this particular interaction I felt fascinated. Now coming to diary studies. So when you are conducting this kind of study, let's say you gave a diary and gave a task for making data entry. So participants carry a set of emotion cards, physical or digital, and log which emotion they experienced at key moments throughout the day while using a product over an extended period of time. So let's say a user starts using the fitness app. So there might be the beginning phase, it was about anticipation before workout, pride after completing challenges, but relief when rest days arrive. So this maps out how the emotional engagement with the app is happening over the course of a certain time frame. So the key insight that you can get from here is the longitudinal emotion tracking, which reveals temporal patterns that single session studies are not able to capture. Now coming to, let's say I do a co-design workshop. So co-design workshop or participatory workshops are something wherein the researcher sits down with the users, different kinds of stakeholders, and they together design something. So here again I can use this. So design teams and stakeholders use emotion cards to map the desired emotional journey across a product experience, placing card at each point to define target emotion states. So a healthcare app team maps hope at onboarding, confidence during symptom tracking, relief at diagnosis, and satisfaction at treatment completion, creating an intentional emotional arc. So the insights that you drew from here was cards function as a shared design language, aligning cross-functional teams around emotional design goals. Now let's say I want to conduct a post-interview sorting. So, after a user interview, the researcher and the participant collaboratively sort through the emotion cards to reconstruct the emotional arc of the experience discussed, identifying peaks, valleys and transitions. So, a participant discussing their first time use of a travel booking platform places fascination at discovery, desire while browsing it, then courage at booking decisions, reconstructing a rich emotional narrative. So, this post hoc card sorting recovers emotional details that real time self report methods often miss due to cognitive load during the experience of trying to remember about my experience and answering the questions of the interviewee. So, emotion is the juice of life from which not much can be done, but nothing meaningful happens without it also. We also get more attached to products, which means when we are talking about I love this product, we are again talking about emotions also. Think of famous taglines from advertising which stays in your mind. So, let's talk about the advertisement of Mountain Dew. They have a very famous tagline, डर के आगे जीत है. So, we try to remember all of these when there is this striking remembrance, the emotional connect. So, now coming to, as I told you, डर के आगे जीत है, which means beyond fear there is a possibility of winning something. Let's talk about designing with negative emotions. So, negative emotions are supposed to be used very carefully. So, products that demand effort, risk or commitment, where user needs to push past hesitations, you can try to use negative emotions. So, why it works? Because channels arouse into focus. So, this state of negative emotion, because there is requirement of certain kind of effort, lot of effort, there is a requirement for getting over the fact that there is so much of risk involved, or where you have to make a big commitment. So, they require certain degree of focus. So, our emotions help you in channelizing our focus onto that task at hand. Things like fear, frustration or pressure becomes the motivation when paired with capability and reward. So, if you are trying to use negative emotion, which is about fear, frustration or pressure, you have to always ensure that after the first initial negative emotion, it should always result into empowerment for the user. So, they should feel excitement, challenge, dominance, indulgence. So, let us say adventure sports like climbing, mountain climbing, surfing or off-road riding, they turn fear and exhaustion into this exhilaration and pride once you have achieved them. So, it starts with a negative emotion, they are designed for that, to start with the negative emotion, but still you should feel that you are protected. So, in this particular case, when this lady is trying to do bungee jumping, she still feels that she is protected decently because of the harness. She has been given certain amount of training. There are others who have also performed it. There are certain safety certifications. So, still there is in the back of the mind a feeling that I am safe. So, there comes this big excitement that once I do this bungee jumping, I would have overcome my initial fear, my initial hesitation, and that's what ends up into generating the positive results. Same happens with off-riding bikes and any such other kind of adventure sports. Now coming to when you have products that question norms or invite users to reconsider the assumptions. So, say for example, in this particular example, you can see that this is a particular poster for a show. This show looks like it is trying to talk about crime, against someone, maybe most likely against women. There is a protagonist who is putting lot of effort to solve that crime. You can see that the subject, when it is said unknown and everything else is redacted by this, it again creates, okay, maybe this person was unknown to anybody, maybe nobody cared about this person, but then this protagonist came and did something. So, the protagonist came and did something, brought this person out of the shadows, the crime out of the shadows. So, what I am trying to do is, over here I am using negative emotions. This particular picture of this entire poster is very disturbing, but I am signifying intrigue boundaries by using it. So through fascination, surprise and confrontation. When I use this, products that question norms or invite users to reconsider the assumptions that they have. Why it works? It creates mild discomfort, sparks curiosity. So always remember, it should create only mild discomfort. Too much of discomfort will again create problems. You will not be able to take the person to the positivity that you want to take them to. It creates this confronting boundaries, reframes meaning and produces fascination, not just appeal. So all sorts of provocative art installations or documentaries that confront uncomfortable truths and invite deeper engagement, they use this kind of a technique. If you had watched this series Man vs. Wild, it is a beautiful example of the same, where the person does lot of grotesque activities, lot of dangerous activities, but we know that at the end he will come out successful out of it, and that fascination, that excitement is what makes us watch through the entire series. Now, designing with negative emotions, when the products are supposed to have some kind of deliberate friction, there is a learning curve or mastery loops. Let's say, for example, you need to invest in recurring deposits, in SIPs. All of them have certain kind of learning curve involved. You need to understand. So recurring deposit of course has a lower learning curve, and SIP will have a much higher learning curve. It also requires you to sacrifice today's pleasures. So let's say I have 10,000 rupees today, which I can either invest for my future in these, or I can use this 10,000 rupees for having some fun time right now, or buying something which was an aspirational buy. So whenever you have these deliberate friction situations, learning curves involved, or mastery loop, so here over here you have to make them feel that your effort, your sacrifices of today are going to result into something beneficial for you. Think of also difficult games like Dark Souls. They have a punishing learning curve, but every victory feels very hard earned, and that's why and it also is memorable. That's why people are who play this game are very addicted to this game. So through this frustration, effort and the satisfaction of overcoming it, I can use this particular thing where things start from negative. I know that the learning curve is very high, and I use it to bring that end satisfaction. Now coming to the fourth context, which is about enabling contemplation through melancholy, nostalgia and quiet reflection. So let's say, for example, it is a grief journal. So the whole idea of this grief journal is, grief is love with nowhere to go. We are here to walk with you. So in this particular journal, it is designed so I will remember, reflect and reconnect. So it is a gentle space to honor memories, express emotions and keep their legacy alive. So I am doing this in this particular app. So this is again something negative, because grief is negative. Why I am able to celebrate it? Because I am saying, when you don't need to forget grief, you need to love it, because it is a love where you are going nowhere. So what I am trying to do is, through this melancholy, nostalgia and quiet reflection, I am trying to teach somebody to overcome the negative emotion and tend to love those memories which were created in place. So all sorts of memorial apps, journaling tools or films that evoke sadness, they create space for processing and meaning making. And why it works? Because sadness and melancholy, deep and meaning, negative balanced emotion gives users space to process and connect. However, you have to always remember that bungee jumping is not for everybody. So not everybody enjoys this negative emotion. The same design intent can produce exhilaration in one user and real distress in another. So the negative to positive balance cannot be assumed. So the use of negative emotions in design demands considerable caution. The blend of negative and positive experience it produces is highly subjective. What one person experiences as thrilling, challenging or poignant, another may experience as simply unpleasant. Designers must therefore weigh negative emotion strategies against their audience, context and the user's consent, ensuring that the richer experience on offer is genuinely wanted. So the same stimulus which is thrilling can be thrilling for somebody, can have mixed feelings for somebody and can be extremely distressing. So let's say you have a documentary where the negative emotion starts the whole thing. You have to put a clear disclaimer that there are disturbing things, and if you have XYZ, then please use your discretion to go ahead with this series. Now coming to what is affective computing. So affective computing is the study and development of systems that can recognize, interpret and respond to human emotions. So it bridges psychology, neuroscience, computer science and design. Systems detect emotions through multiple channels, and these channels can be facial recognition, voice analysis, physiological sensors and behavioral tracking. So what we do over here is I can combine the visual and audio. So I can combine the face and voice. So smile plus sarcastic tone, not happy. So it is more accurate than only one of the channels. I can have audio plus physiological combined, so voice plus heart rate, so anxiety detection and the intensity. This can help in creating wearable devices. I can do behavioral plus physiological, so there is keyboard or mouse plus sensors into it. So it helps me in identifying the cognitive stress and frustration. So it helps in real time adaptive UI development. Then I can do context plus all modalities. So task plus multimodal signals. So it has the for the same heart rate monitor, when it is like I am game for it versus when there is a deadline. There are differences in which it will give you the same heart rate, but because I combine it with the context, I am able to understand whether it is I am game for it related or whether there is a deadline and I am really nervous about it. So context aware accuracy. Then comes fusion strategies. There we will look at early, late or intermediate. How can I combine the different features, because all these technologies that I spoke about are at different levels of maturity. So I can combine them to improve the results. So deep learning for emotion detection is being worked upon. So different kinds of architectures are developed. However, there is a challenge. One of the challenge is about training the data imbalances, happy versus disgust, or something similar which produce similar kind of physiological reactions. Then cultural differences also results in different kind of facial expressions and also different intensity of expressions. Then there are huge privacy concerns and large scale biometric data sets. When they are collected, what will happen as a result of it? So the real world condition gives actually about 60 to 75% accuracy given the technology that we have right now, whereas the benchmark data sets, they give 85 to 92% accuracy. However, there are privacy concerns. So the key takeaways from this lecture are: design is always emotion driven. Positive product emotions arise from 6 sources: the object, its meaning, the interaction, the activity, ourselves and others. Use emotion which are negative, that can be done, but when used deliberately and with caution, negative emotions can deepen, enrich product experiences. However, what kind of experience it will generate differs widely from one person to another person. Affective computing is an emerging domain, and systems can recognize emotions through different modalities, and you can explore them both in your design of a product as well as in user research. Now coming to ethical practice. Emotion aware design and sensing must respect privacy and user anatomy. So you have to enhance experience without manipulation. So which means you have to inform people, take ethical permissions from them and give them the chance to quit it whenever they want to. So here are some of the references. Thank you so much, and we will continue with this lecture where we will be talking about cultural dimensions next. See you then.